Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. John Owen talks about sports and movies. Thank you for checking out today's video. I always appreciate the support and let's get into it. So this weekend I went and saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the first MCU movie of the year, the first movie of Phase 5, and overall I just thought it was okay. And I'll break it down why I thought it was just kind of mid. But tiny heroes, big ambitions, mid execution. But before we dive into it, make sure you guys leave your thoughts down in the comments below. What did you think of the movie? What are your thoughts on it? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? What were some specific things that stuck out to you? Make sure you guys subscribe so you never miss out on any of the fun, and like the video. That's the easiest and fastest way to support, and I always appreciate all that you guys do. And I'm also issuing a spoiler alert, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, please go watch it. Save this video and then come back to it. So we're gonna get into spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this can be kind of free flow. I don't have bullet points or anything. Okay, so the reception to this film has been mixed, to say the least. I've seen a lot of people who really, really like this movie. They're like, oh my god, this movie's really good. It's so good. And they really, really enjoyed it. And then I've seen some other people that have been very, very extremely critical of it. Calling this the worst MCU movie and one of the worst, and like Thor and Love and Thunder bad, Thor the Dark World bad. And of course, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but that's just not personally how I viewed the movie. There were some aspects of this movie that I really was rocking with. I was like, man, this is really cool. I love this. Man, this is cool. This is awesome. And then there are other parts I was like, I don't know if I love that. I just don't know if I love that. I don't think I like that or enjoyed that. We're just gonna bounce around a little bit. So let's talk about some of the obvious highlights. First off, the quantum realm was just cool. It was super Star Warsy. All the different creatures and the different environments and all that were really, really cool. They put in a lot of effort and time into the design, um, and kind of the feel and the vibe of this world, and it was really cool. It was just completely awesome, and it was a really, really cool, fun place to just kind of dive into and just get to experience and see how our characters are reacting to it and learning it. Um, and so that's just really, really cool. And I loved being in the quantum realm. Um, and then Kang. Oh my god, Jonathan Majors absolutely crushed it as Kang. And Kang was giving off some bars. Some absolute bars. Um, no question about it. Kang's great, obviously he's gonna be, the big bad for um, the overarching multiverse saga. And this was a great first look that we've had at Kang. We've seen Jonathan Majors as He Who Remains in the Loki show, but Kang, but this is Jonathan Majors' first time like as Kang, and he absolutely crushed it. Just his presence and physicality, um, and his delivery was just really, really, really awesome. I loved it. Kind of very stoic and um, very serious, very threatening. I loved King, and he was a complete powerhouse. Even though we'll get to the way that they beat him here in a second. But I loved Jonathan Majors as King. He was excellent. He was so good, and it made me really, really excited to see King going forward. Um, as he's in more and more projects, which by the looks of it, he's going to be in a lot because as more and more projects going to deal with multiverse, um, we're going to see his variants pop up because unfortunately this variant dies, which I'll dive into that in a second. But and then the twist that MODOK was Darren, literally ingenious. Literally, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, that is one of the smartest, smallest, twittiest, or that's not a word, wittiest kind of twist I've ever seen. That was ingenious. That was ingenious. That's what I love to see. It's really important that if you make a trilogy of movies that, especially when you get to the third one, you've got to pull on threads kind of set up first or set up in your first movie. And I think Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania does that so good with Daring Being MODOK. It was just funny. They handled MODOK very well from a humor standpoint. Kind of poking fun of him. His death scene was humorous on purpose. Um, Whenever Darren is like, "You're like a brother to me, Scott," and Scott was like, "For sure, no doubt about it." It was super funny the way they handled it. Cassie and Darren's conversation about being a kinder person um, was what was really funny, and I think they absolutely nailed the humor and kind of gimmick around MODOK. I I I think they hit it out of the park. No question. No question. They just absolutely nailed it. It was really funny. It was really smart for it to be him, so then that way, they could play off previous established relationships. Um, and so I just thought that was really, really, really ingenious of them. And the design was really good. It was like kind of cool and menacing whenever um the mask was on, and then whenever kind of the mask helmet thing would kind of shuttle back, and it was Darren. Then it was really funny. So it was like the best of both worlds. It was exactly what MODOK was supposed to be. It was great. It was great. I loved it. I loved it. I think Cassie's a solid addition to the movie. Her being grown up, her having a suit was logical. Um, she was a solid addition. Hank and Janet, I think, really get the shine in this movie. They definitely get more than what they got to do in the first two. Um, Hank plays a really crucial role in this film, and it was and I see Janet like actually get to like really really do some stuff. Learn about her time in the quantum realm. Her helping Kang become the Conqueror, and then fighting against him, and all that was really really interesting to learn about. Bill Murray's little cameo was short, but funny. Um, and so yeah. And then there's some like good old little like run of the mill kind of like lighthearted Ant Man humor in this film as well, just like the other two. Um, but then so there are the things that I really really liked. Um, I really liked. Oh, hold on. Let me back up. The two post credit scenes were really, 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 really cool. The first one we see the kind of Council of Kangs, or I think that's how this king refers to them, is the Council of Kangs. Um, like the Egyptian pharaoh and kind of the futuristic guy and the other king, and then you pan and you see they're amassing all the other kings for this huge multiversal war. And they're in this arena and they're all really excited. That was really really cool. That was so cool. And then the second post credit scene where we see Loki and oh my god, what is Owen Wilson's character's name? The jet ski. Mobius. Um, and they're in like a really old like 1900s town, and Kang is presenting this new technology, and Loki's like terrified of him. Those are really, really cool post credit scenes, and I'm really excited to see kind of where those go, or kind of how they incorporate those going forward. I 100% positive that will be a plot point in Loki season two, and I'm sure we're going to see these other King variants that we've seen kind of be the big bads kind of going forward. Okay, let's get to the negatives. Some things I didn't like. I I don't think Okay, I think an MCU movie should do one of, if not both of these things. I think an MCU movie should either be created to be pivotal toward the overall plot and overall story of the universe, or it should be a really, really great movie about a character and them growing, and just be kind of a really fascinating character with or journey with the character because they grow a lot over the course of the film. I think an MCU movie needs to do either one of those. Prefer, and most of them do both. Not most, but and some do both. Like I think like Winter Soldier and Civil War are more focused on maybe overall plot and story contribution, and a little bit of character um, development. Um, I would say the first two anime movies are more just kind of like kind of just fun character journeys, without moving the plot too much forward, but they're enjoyable and they're valuable because now we get to spend time with the character that we know is going to be important going down the line. So, I think you either have to do one or the other. You have to do at least one of those two things, at least one of those. And I don't know if this movie does either, honestly. It doesn't move the plot forward. This movie does, at the beginning of the movie, Scott has found his family and he gets to be with Cassie and spend time with her. And this big, powerful Kang variant, who was the most destructive in the multiversal war, is a neutralized threat. And then what happens at the end of the movie? It's the same thing. Scott gets to be with Cassie and his found family, and this most dangerous King variant is a neutralized threat. So nothing happens universe wise, that we didn't already know. Because we already knew all this information in Loki, and we already knew that a multiversal war was coming because Sylvie killed, um, the He Who Remains. So we already knew a multiversal war with King variants was coming. That was not new information. So now you haven't moved the plot forward, which is fine. You don't have to do that. That's fine. Okay, right? Well, okay. So if you don't do that, then you've got to be a really fun character journey where our characters grow and do all that. Scott doesn't have a character arc in this movie. He's funny and witty, but his main motivations don't change. He doesn't learn a lesson really. I mean, I don't think really, like, I think they tried to play with the fact that, like, Scott has kind of been passive and not helping out, but nothing had really been happening, and then they do anyways, but not because, like, Scott is feeling altruistic. It's because, like, he's got to spin the block and get Cassie back from Kang. And so, so then Scott's got a flat character arc. Scott doesn't grow or change. The group was split up. What was really frustrating is the first two movies have all about been trying to get their families back together. Scott with Cassie, Hank and Hope with Janet, um, and then they just split them up, and then they're not together for basically the entire run of the movie. Um, and so I'm like, well, you guys have like, you guys had a really the first opening where it's like, oh, like how important it is, like this found kind of crafted family is, was really, really good. But then like the themes of found family have not been carried over through the rest of the movie. So you don't have any overarching themes. You don't have any really great character development. Um, and then you don't move the plot forward. So then the question becomes, why does this movie exist? What role does this movie serve if you haven't done any of those things? Like maybe perhaps if Scott had learned, if Scott had learned kind of a character lesson, and that would help him in the next Avengers movie or whatever next movie he's in, then that's valuable. Then you bring value to the table. But I'm just not sure how much value this movie brings if it's not growing our characters or adding to the overall plot and contributing new information. It's a cool movie to look at. It's a great world to be in, and it's awesome to hear Kang get bars off, absolute bars off. But I don't know if I can get really excited about what this movie brings forward when it doesn't bring anything new forward or recontextualize our characters in a new way. Um, and so I think that's the film's biggest problem is, I think it tried to be, this movie with super high stakes and, oh, look, it's an anime movie that's important. And then it doesn't become important because the state of the universe and the state of our characters is the exact same as before. And so, like, what have you accomplished? The way they beat Kang in this movie, I hate it. I hate it. It was just cheesy for him to get overrun by the ants. Like, yes, I understand it's an ant movie and they've used the ants as a crux. Absolutely. And I think if they would have used the ants to help, swing the rebellion and help the quantum realm people be freed from Kang and destroy his citadel, I would have rocked with that. I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But for the ants to be the ones that overrun Kang and kind of destroy his equipment, and all that was just cheesy, honestly. And this version of Kang shouldn't have died. I think there was a way where they could have beat him without killing him. Because honestly, I think like if they would have kind of spent a little time kind of explaining like, oh, like, hey, my citadel will allow me to do this as opposed to just my chair. Like my citadel will allow me to host my army. Kind of like really drive that point forward and make conquering these timelines easier, even easier than it has been. And then the ants and the revolution destroy the citadel, but then he's still able to escape the quantum realm, and then Scott and Hope are like, oh my god, and then they rally the troops together because they know that they've messed up massively by allowing Kang to escape. The most powerful, dangerous Kang variant we've had that we already know, like he is the most dangerous one. They had to exile him. They talked about him in the Loki show. We've already spent time with, something going forward. We have our main Kang that we've already spent time with. Not saying you can't have other Kang variants messing things up and being troublesome, but you've already got the one main Kang that we've already spent a lot of time together with, and I think that would have been really cool. But then you kill him, so the next time we see Kang, we have to start all the way over. And if we're going to see a lot of Kang variants, we're going to start over every single time, and I think that's tiring. And I think they could have made a really bold choice. And I think, honestly, a lot of movies struggle with this. They just don't make the bold choice. They make the easy choice at the end. And I've got a lot of movies that kind of make this example, and honestly, I low-key might make a video about that, but it's just there was no sense in like killing him because then I felt like the stakes could have been raised. You could have heightened the intensity of what this movie brings, and it would have made sense. Ant-Man and Wasp and Hope, and Janet and Hank and Cassidy and the Quantum Realm people and the ants should not be strong enough to beat Kang. Kang beats the hell out of Scott at the end of the movie. I mean, completely bust him up. And that makes sense, right? And so I just think that if they let this Kang variant, they could have destroyed the Citadel, dealing him a massive blow, right? That makes sense. But then still allowing him to escape, I think that could have been really cool, and I think that would have been a much better ending than what we got. Because then it's just kind of a little anticlimactic. They do the same. They just rehash what Janet did to destroy uh, the energy core to begin with, and so I just feel like they just don't do enough with what this movie could have been. Like I said, it's tiny heroes, big ambitions, mid execution. I felt like this movie was trying to shoot for the stars, but you didn't even make it out of the atmosphere. You didn't crash land, but like you kind of ran out of. You realized you were running out of fuel, so you just came back down. You didn't crash. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't awful, but you didn't hit the mark either. And so I think this movie just overall, because it lacks kind of urgency or stakes or character growth or overall just universe plot progression. Um, I just think honestly, it's just okay. It's just really mid, honestly. So overall, it's uh, a beautiful and wacky world to explore was created within the quantum realm, and Kang and MODOK make for a great villain tandem for our tiniest heroes to go up against. However, some odd plot choices, generic ending, flat characters hold back what could have been a great start to Phase 5. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It was just an okay start to Phase 5. So thank you guys for checking out today's video. Make sure you guys check out the link content as well. Like I said, like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss out on any of the fun. And you guys have a great day.